When you look back on the last 4 years, I'm sure that there's lots of things that you point to that you're proud of. Any regrets? Anything you wish you could do over?
I think I've stuck with the old Kenny Rogers adage, which there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. And so still more dealing left to do, and we'll figure that out. Always there are regrets. There are things you learn along the way. But I'm proud of the fact that we've made decisions with a compass in mind, meaning a true north of doing the right thing for the right reasons at every turn, bringing our cases to win. You put out some very, I'd say, aggressive or just more aggressive guidelines at the beginning of your tenure, actually maybe a year and a half in to it. How do you think you're going to feel a year and a half into whoever's doing it the next time when they come out with guidelines and if they look like they are reversed? Yeah, I think, listen, part of the job is making the best decisions you can in the time you have and having your own impact. And the next crew will have every right to make the decisions in their vision of what they believe is right, and I respect that. And I will be rooting them on because their success is the success of the economy and the country.
Do you have any sense, we sometimes talk about J.D. Vance, who has talked about admiring Lina Khan in some ways. Do you have any sense whether this next administration, I think the knee-jerk conventional view, conventional sort of perspective is going to be that Trump is going to try to unleash, and get rid of a lot of the regulation and not be nearly as aggressive as you were. But then at the same time, there are these sort of interesting cross currents. Do you have any sense of it? I know you don't want to talk about politics, but you're about to go back and be a civilian with the rest of us. Maybe you can sort of bring us into that world, because I think you've talked to a lot of these players.
Yeah, listen, I think all of this really starts with the public sentiment. And I think, again, as I was mentioning a little bit ago, if you look at where antitrust is today versus 30 years ago, it's night and day. We've seen a shift in our policy. And that's because I think we've seen a shift in how the country views corporate concentration. I don't think that's going to change. How it's implemented and will shift, and it'll evolve just as it has from the last administration to the current administration. But I think we've seen a great deal of continuity, including from the Trump administration to the Biden administration, and I expect we'll see an evolution to continue, and I think that's healthy.
Right. Well, what do you make of so many of the folks that are either part of this Trump cabinet or going to be appointed to other positions in this administration that come from business? I would imagine, and I'm not contending that they're going to do anything untoward, but their perspective, right? Their life experience is going to be coming from oftentimes the top of business institutions. Do you think that they're going to think about it differently?
I think that the goal of public service is to make sure that you're putting the public first, and my hope is that whoever takes over throughout the government will do just as we have, which is put the public first. But I think people's life experiences help inform their outlook. I came from private practice. I've spent many years working on all sides of issues, and I think that's helped me become a better, more successful enforcer.
Jonathan, one big question I have for you is about AI and technology and how that may change all of this. A lot of the cases that have been brought in the past, to some degree, I now look at it and I think of Google in this example. That whole world may get blown up in the next 5 or 10 years just because there are going to be competitors that didn't exist even, 18 months ago. And so I wonder whether we're going through such a technological revolution and how you think that should be considered in the context of antitrust. By the way, for a very long time in the media world, there hasn't been, big mergers because there was a view that there was too much concentration. At the same time, you've seen sort of a complete revolution in terms of how we all consume and get media, which may portend a good reason for there to be more consolidation, for example.
Yeah. This is really important. So I think antitrust is often most important at times of great disruption and inflection points. And so if you think about a history of antitrust cases, whether it goes to telecommunications and the development of the microchip and then PCs, and then ultimately the Microsoft case, for example, was brought right around the time where we're seeing the broadband revolution and the rise of the internet. preserving the ability and the opportunity for those inflection points to have maximum success and disruption, and so that we can see a new range of companies compete, is what we should be after. And I think AI presents a lot of really exciting opportunities. It creates new vectors of competition and innovation. I think what we want to make sure is that those new competitors have the opportunity to succeed in a durable way. And I think one thing I will point out is I think our goal should be to have more public companies. I think we want not just the same incumbents to recycle and compete in the next wave of technology. I think we want to usher in a new generation of great U.S. companies that not have maximize terminal value, not just by selling to larger business, but by becoming strong public companies that can have a durable impact.
Do you know Gail Slater, who effectively will be taking your role in this?
I do, yeah. Yes, I know Gail for a very long time. And
have you talked to her about this new gig?
I have not yet. I'm excited that the president-elect has announced permanent leadership. Gail is somebody who's well known in the antitrust community for being smart and experienced. Our goal right now is to make sure that we hand off the antitrust division in strong working order to the next crew.
Real quick, how do you think about international antitrust enforcement efforts? I'm thinking, by the way, even in the past 2 days, we've been following this NVIDIA story in China, and how often you think antitrust is being used because there actually are competitive issues in these other countries, and how often you think it's being used as a negotiating cudgel. And I say that because also there are going to be questions about how this next administration uses all sorts of things, whether it be tariffs or decisions around the future of TikTok on national security grounds or other things, but could also turn into a negotiating tool for these countries.
Yeah, I don't believe antitrust enforcement should be used as a negotiating tool. It's a matter of law enforcement that should be used to help open markets and make them competitive. And so, ultimately, we enforce the antitrust laws in the United States in order to make sure that our economy is working for people in the United States. And that has always been our North Star. I think we have to do that against the backdrop of a global economy. And so it's important to be mindful of the fact that a lot of the issues that we confront are the same kinds of issues that people abroad are confronting. But ultimately, we make sure that we enforce our laws for our country and our people.